I would like to welcome a very close friend of mine who I've conferred with time and time again over the past 3.5 years. NBC News anchor, Brian Williams.
Well, thank you all very much. Little did I know that the men's room entrance looked out upon 14,700 people. But it's a long drive from the big city. How about that, Pat Sheehan? How about another round of applause for Pat Sheehan? Pat, I wouldn't let anybody make a joke about that suit you're wearing today, though I heard some talk in the crowd that the local Century 21 office is missing a jacket, so I think we're all right, but I can check the label later on. It is great to be back here next to the bottomless lake. And I don't care what anybody says, in our household this thing had no bottom. The truth is that 4 days ago, I was walking through an African village with Bono, the lead singer of U2, and a 91-year-old tribal chief in the West African nation of Ghana. I knew I was coming here today, and I knew I had to make it home from Africa to get here today. And so I was reflecting all the way home on the great distance I have traveled from Elmira, New York to Ghana in West Africa and points all over the world. And I thought about my childhood here at 927 West Church and going to Mass on Sundays at Our Lady of Lourdes and going to Hendy Avenue School. And I thought about that carousel inside there. And I remembered the day a few years ago when some nice men came to see me at my office in New York. One of them said he was a dentist. And they said, "We have great plans for that carousel." And they handed me a brass ring. And I took it from them that day and I put it in a box on my desk. And I took it out of that box this past Friday when I knew I was coming here, because they said the promise behind this ring was that I would always be entitled to a free ride on this carousel. I remember thinking, though, that in all my rides on that thing, I had never grabbed the brass ring, never got a brass one. But I immediately stopped that way of thinking. I thought it might sound selfish, and I thought it might sound silly, like some kind of a complaint. Because the truth is, I have been so enormously lucky since I left all of you in Elmira and moved to points east and beyond. So lucky in life. And of course, I can thank my roots here. All these memories that have been flooding back today, as they do every time I come back to town, about my dad and that commute to Corning Glass and back every day, and my mom and all her years in Little Theater here, my siblings, David, Mary Jane, and Richard, combination of EFA and Notre Dame. Our friends, the Levines, Danny Lipson, Danny Discount of Elmira Discount, your friendly family store on Elmira's South Side. And then as we pulled up here, I look over and there's a guy sitting in a pair of shorts on a rock with a camera, and it's Carl Proper, and I almost fell over dead.
Cousin Carl.
There's kind of an unwritten law in the anchorman business. You don't want to show your legs to anybody. You know they're there, you know they're under the desk every night. They're your business, okay? Frankly, all those years watching Carl, never wanted to see his legs. Now I have that image to get out of my mind on the long ride home. Dinner at Pierce's and Moretti's, and fried chicken at Curly's, and the Miracle Mile, and being so scared of that prison. It's the scariest building I had ever seen in my life. Probably the reason I am not a criminal today. Going to the Speedrome, and I understand they are racing today. It makes it very difficult for me to get in a car and go home. Going to Pioneers games. Going to Schornsteimer's Dairy across the street from my house until they suffered an awful fire. Going to Smith Home Farm for an ice cream cone after dinner if we were really good. Going to Harris Hill and watching the gliders. And even picking up my dad at the end of a business trip on Mohawk Airlines and thanking God he had made it home on Mohawk Airlines. And then we moved away. Our lives changed after that. And we had our hearts broken when we had to follow the news of the flood on radio and television. And I'll never forget the first film we saw of what had happened to our hometown was on NBC Nightly News. And you never know what street they're showing or what branch of the Chemung River they're showing. We only knew that our friends on Water Street, our friends on Ohio Avenue, a lot of our friends would be hurting. And we couldn't believe our eyes when we came back and saw what it had done. But I realized in these last several days what I've known all my life, and what I said the last time I visited: there is no place like home. To me, from this day forward, the circulation of this place will begin in that building. Please consider this the beating heart of Elmira, and consider that your job, to keep this going around and around and keep that circulation going for years to come. Too many people have worked too hard. I live in a big city now, of course, and all I'm missing is exactly what I had here in Elmira. All I'm missing is the feeling of a small town. Today on Route 17, just outside Vestal, I looked out the window, and there's an American flag about every 10 feet on every pole of the guardrail. Someone had taken the time this past week to make sure that for miles and miles of that highway, no matter where you look, you'll see an American flag. Sometimes that's exactly what's missing in our big cities. And it's exactly what Elmira and towns like it stand for. So I'll sum up this way. The only reason, and this is the truth, the only reason I'm able to walk with tribal chiefs and rock stars in a place like West Africa is because I learned to walk in Elmira. The reason I'm so happy to be here today, and the reason this completes such a big circle, is that wherever I go, a part of Elmira always, always walks with me. Thank you, and God bless you.